I would like to introduce the next speaker to you. I hope you're ready. Jonathan Ford is his name. I see CCRO, Jonathan. Do I say that correct? Or is it CCO?
Chief Creative,
Both.
Chief Creative Officer.
He will probably, and also founder, he will probably explain himself. He's from Pearlfisher, going to talk about high-tech, low-tech fusion, the future strategies for global innovation. Give him a warm applause. Jonathan Ford.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Eddie. That was fantastic. And Scott's presentation, too. And I'm here to really talk about creativity in a slightly different kind of way. We've seen huge amounts of high-tech innovation taking place here, and examples of how we can sort of connect, people in terms of promoting brands and companies. And what I'd like to actually talk to you about is something that could work very well with high-tech innovation, which is also low-tech innovation, and how design and creative thinking and the opportunity for brands as we start to really kind of live in a truly connected world. And so my talk is called High-Tech and Low-Tech Fusion, Future Strategies for Global Innovation. Pearlfisher is a creative partnership. We have a future thinking team, a strategic team, and a design team. And we're also based in London and in New York. And our clients are blue chip, multinational, iconic brands, and also challenger brands. And the challengers and icons are very interesting because what challenger brands and iconic brands do both very successfully is use creativity to move the agenda forward. And there are many other types of different brands and thinkers out there, but for me, challenger thinking and iconic brand thinking is really where you can see progress. You can see the new, disruptive kind of thinking which can really make connections, and iconic brands nurture what makes them special. And so creativity plays a role. Now, in a conference like this, we are really here sort of trying to sort of glean out the trends that are taking place. We've moved into a world where, in the developed world, we can add a few clicks or a few swipes, we can sort of really discover what the latest trends are. And forums like this around the world are really focusing on where's the next big thing, and investors are coming, and you've got creatives and agencies, and it's becoming, and clients, and it's becoming a mashup. And you get forums like TED, and you've got Cannes, and competitors to Digit like Pioneers and Digit. We're all asking the same thing. We're sharing ideas, and we're all trying to find out what's going on. And it's this age of the trend that we are sort of moving into, where effectively we are looking to invest and see where innovation is really going. And what I would say is that innovation is not an easy process. And in this kind of search for sort of high-tech, quick return on investments, it's not that easy. I mean, if you think about, the pharmaceutical industry, to develop a new drug takes 13 years with huge amounts of sort of money. And you've got to ask yourself, with that kind of money and that kind of time frame, where's the incentive to actually do something really, really innovative? It actually blocks innovation. And so we need to be thinking about where are the challenges which are coming up with new ideas to promoting healthcare and new ways of doing things and bringing services which will change people's lives. You look at the R&D spend, for major companies like this, you see huge amounts of money being spent, and for what benefit? Maybe a slightly better washing powder or shampoo and so on. And again, you have to question the effectiveness of money that is being spent on innovation if you want to be effective with it. What's the return that you're trying to get from monies like that? And I pose this idea every now and then at events like this just to shake it up a bit, that actually we're living in the age of the great corporate innovation swindle. We are spending huge amounts of money and to what real benefit, to what real return? Where is that, where is that real en masse return that's coming from the amount of money that's getting spent on that? I work with innovation departments within a lot of these organizations, and frankly, innovation is often a good excuse to just spend money and achieve nothing. And it's a bit of an indictment. And so what we see is innovation being pushed out to the investors who are spreading their bets around, just like the casino, and 9 out of 10 ventures will actually fail. So we're willing to spread around that amount of money in order to get that one big Instagram-style return on the investment. And just think if we took the same amount of money that we're willing to risk and actually we thought about how we could actually design out social problems. So the thing is that we are fed these images of a technologically advanced, utopian image in the future where everything is aesthetically clean, technologically linked, a wonderland. And the reality is that that's not going to be the case going forward into the future. We are seeing massive population growth. And when you think about the fact that the world's urban population by 2050 is going to be the same as the world's population of 2002, that is going to put immense pressure on how cities evolve, for example. And we can expect to see the rise of slum dwellings around the major city centers in the world as a result of that. And so the kind of the squeaky clean sort of future that we've sort of been, that we all think we're part of, and technology fitting in with it, has actually got to work with scenarios like this. And that is really kind of where my thesis is, which is that when you think about population migration, social disruption, growth, and the urbanization of sort of cities, there has to be a way that we have to think about not just developed societies where technology can give us the latest app that will enable us to connect with an algorithm that will enable somebody to understand our shopping habits, but how actually technology can make a difference to the swelling population, all of which potentially can live within below the poverty line. And so there is a huge opportunity when you think about this swelling population to say, well, what can we do with it to see the people that are maybe living in impoverished circumstances as a resource to connect with, to help make their lives better, and actually be innovative with people as a resource. And I often think when I'm working on innovation projects and I see huge amounts of money thrown at something and plans with like 5-year growth plans and then there's going to be a huge campaign and whatever, and you see these kind of campaigns actually not work and the ideas not be relevant. Where do you actually see real innovation? And I believe that you see it in the hands of the people that have the least amount. This is photographs of Cubans who have been pretty much isolated from Western development and support, and yet are keeping 50-year-old, 60-year-old American classic cars alive and going and working, using spare parts and kind of being resourceful about the things that they have got, using tractor engines to sort of work in a Chevy, 1950 Chevy. And it's a huge amount of sort of resourcefulness and innovation that actually goes in to making these kind of cars run. So people that have less are often likely to be more resourceful. And Scott's presentation earlier demonstrated, look what you can do with $400. And that's exactly what I'm sort of talking about here. That kind of thinking, you can start to sort of see that, with that waste that we create, what could we do if we were more resourceful with the things we have? For example, e-waste. I don't know if you know this, but you can get more gold from 1 ton of computer e-waste than you can get from 17 tons of gold ore. And if we can start to think about materials in a different way as well, reuse of materials, design it into products so that actually there can be afterlife. 90% of all materials become waste almost immediately in the context of human development. And that's a staggering figure. And if you think about your latest device that we've all got in our pockets and the craze to sort of stay connected at the fastest speeds possible, this is breeding sort of like an ongoing kind of culture of consumerism and technological sort of fascination. And yet we throw this stuff away. So the people that I think where we can start to be thinking about are, and how we start to see high-tech and low-tech innovations. The Global Poverty Project is a really interesting example where they're using creativity, technology, mobilizing communities, social networks to help lift extreme lift people out of extreme poverty by 2030. Now that is an amazing objective, to think that in my lifetime, in our lifetime, that actually we could lift people out of extreme poverty around the world. And that's all being done using ideas, technology, connections, and helping people to live a better life. We've got Google announcing that they're at the launch of their loons, and these loons are going to be sent up 20 kilometers, and they're going to beam free internet down to the world. So we are just a decade away from the entire world being online and having access to the internet. You know, I'm talking about the impoverished people that will be able to get cheap handsets, that will be able to access the internet and knowledge. And internet.org is a facility that's set up by Facebook, who are going to be also sending up internet, providing vehicles into the air that will beam down free internet to the sub-Saharan Africans. And that is an amazing thing that's just happened. So internet.org now connects sub-Saharan Africans freely to the internet. And so we've got people that are now around the world becoming truly connected. This is a point in history that in the sort of the headlong fascination with high-tech innovation, we're actually forgetting that the world's majority population, which is a lot less wealthier than I suppose the developed nations, is actually all going to come online at one point. And what are they going to want at that point, when you've got people that have come from very humble beginnings, maybe don't have enough resources to feed their families, live in kind of socially disrupted populations? What, are they really going to be wanting to be playing, the latest kind of, game on their smartphone? Or are they going to be wanting to actually live a better life? And so there is a huge opportunity to reach out to people and use technology to improve people's lives. And the case history I want to talk to you about is one that we've designed for a charity called Hala. And Hala is a sustainable, it's a charity that teaches sustainable farming practices. We help, because I'm involved in Hala, they help people farm the unfarmable land, which is pretty much kind of deserted. And it all started out about 25 years ago when Rene Hala, who's our, the chair of the Hala Foundation, worked out ways to turn cement quarries in Kenya into lush, fertile rainforests within 25 years. And these environmental practices, which drew in the local communities, the impoverished people, and turned this quarry into actually pretty much a tourist attraction, has generated millions of dollars and connected communities. And the ideas around how to be creative with low-tech living have been translated into various innovations. So if we have a slum food garden model where we show people living in slums how you can grow food, get fresh water, create light using freely available material that has been either thrown away or kind of that can be repurposed to feed families. And this is kind of like incredible stuff. And then there we have the Farmer Training Center, which also uses low-tech innovation to show how families can feed themselves. A family of 6 can be fed for a year and still have food left over for to sell and create micro economies. And these are brilliantly creative ideas happening at the end of a spectrum that you never have to think about, because we've kind of got all our luxuries and at our local sort of supermarket or deli or whatever. But for the majority of the population in the world, people are living in times of extreme need. And so if we can show people how to live creatively, live effectively and sustainably using low-tech ideas amongst some of that I'm showing you, then we can, of course, make a big impact in smaller areas. But because we're now in a connected world and handsets are becoming cheaper, in Kenya, you can now get a smartphone handset for $30, and the second-hand market is now, rife, and products are being repurposed. And so, Hala, being a charity with very little resources, comes up with ideas to continue the furthering of its sustainable farming techniques, and has created the world's first farmers app. So this is an app, a web-based app, that is now freely available on internet.org because Facebook has recognized that this is a way that sub-Saharan Africans can improve a better life. And Pearlfisher have designed the world's first farmers app that is actually can be listened to in Swahili or in English. If you can't read, you can listen to it. Or you can read it in English and Swahili. And effectively, what it does is just use very simple graphics to help communicate to people that have now got iPads or tablets or devices, you know, what really is going to make a difference to them. So if you're interested in farming and you're interested in soil improvement, which is a massive issue when you've got you know, areas that have been sort of deforested or kind of stripped of kind of natural vegetation, you need to improve soil, planting, how to deal with bugs, how to retain water, build dams, grow food. All of this stuff is freely available as knowledge now through internet.org into the hands of the people, where technology is now actually making a difference to their lives, and using very simple photography to show how you can create seed pots out of banana leaves, for example, how to plant in a small area if you're just living in a kind of thing, how to grow from seed, and you know, it's, as I said, it's all in Swahili. So what you've got is this massive connection now, where you've got, you know, technology, and you've got the kind of global sort of connectedness and a shift in society which allows people to live a better lives. So I'm going to leave the stage, but it's just worth thinking about this moment in history that we're arriving at, and this cultural collision that is taking place in all sorts of different ways, from population migration, you know, religious conflict, tensions, social migration. This is all happening against the backdrop of a totally connected world. And if you think about that, you know, the population of the world as one untapped resource, just think about, you know, what we can give to that and also what we can sort of get back. It's a huge innovation opportunity to make the world a better place, which is often talked about on stages like this, but is actually never really fulfilled in the attempt to get to the latest high-tech gizmo algorithm that actually doesn't really improve people's lives. So I'm saying that you look at how we can use, you know, fuse the high-tech with the low-tech to really create some really resourceful strategies that can be this blend of a high and a low-tech fusion. And maybe we can actually look to resolve social conflict and actually create economic development by design and through creative thinking and the linking of all of this together. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Try to see you. Yeah, of course
Eddie's
you can.
got a question.
You course, no.
Eddie.
Turn down the lights, please. Please.
So one can download this app even if they're not in Kenya. Is that okay?
So it's some facts and figures. It launched last year. It's now in it's now being downloaded in 120 countries around the world. So this is it's a great question, and it's one I should have mentioned. But it just shows the effect of something that is really resourceful, and shows that it is having an impact in people's lives around the world. And the next challenge for us is actually recognizing the techniques that work for Kenya, which are transferable. There are some things which you do need to think about the local environment you're in. So we're now moving to a suite of apps that may work regionally.
Thank you very much. I have seen an amazing, I found it amazing. I like corporates to do more good with technology and innovation, like you showed us. I've seen a whole documentary on the country of Egypt, which crowdfunded the rebuild or the extension of the Suez Canal, and they crowdfunded $8.5 billion from the population, and it's bringing the whole country back into a new economy. It delivers a lot of work. A lot of foreign investors now do trust the... do you think that do you see a role for brands here, or should it start with governments from countries to...
I think everyone's got to play a part in it, but the important thing you're talking about is how you can get behind a great big idea, and if it can be spread around for mutual benefit, then surely that's a great thing, rather than delivering a return for the, you know, really the wealthy few. that if you can actually create social engagement and pride in something to change something for better, then surely that has got to be a good thing. And an example of that through the work we do is when we build an earth dam across a valley to collect water, which falls naturally in Kenya, rather than the charity projects bringing in bulldozers to create the dam, we actually get the community to come in. They build it by hand. To watch 200 villagers build an earth dam which is higher than this ceiling and about 100 meters across, and it's taken them a month to do something like that. That is crowdsourcing at our level. And you know what happens? There's greater ownership over the creation of that dam. And it's a very simple earth structure. And once they've got a dam, they've got water. Once you've got water, you can put fish in it. And once you've got fish in it, you've got a food source. You take malaria out of the air. Yeah. And once you've got that amount of water, you can then irrigate the rest of the valley, and you can grow food for a community.
But it's amazing, because that means that the ideation and innovation can spark a whole new ecosystem.
Correct.
Or a whole new economic situation for a country like Egypt.
Yeah. And that kind of ecosystem thinking is exactly what I'm trying to advocate, which is we need to integrate high-tech with the kind of like the people that are, you know, most in need, and provide ways to creatively connect and give them the resources they need to live a better life. It's as simple as that.
I think that must give a lot more gratitude than creating banners or advertising. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last but not least, I hope you're ready. Thank you very much. I hope you're ready.